Hi everyone, this is Miss Gooden here. We're covering lesson 1.6 today. Use the break apart strategy to add. If you're in my class, you should be filling out page 25 from the 3rd grade Florida Go Math textbook. This is your big book. Here we have our learning goal for this lesson. It says use the break apart strategy to add 3-digit numbers. Our learning scale, it's the same one we've had the last few lessons. At a level 1, you should be able to understand how to regroup numbers when adding. Level 2 is all about subtraction, so we're going to skip that and go to our target level. Level 3, I can fluently add and subtract numbers using multiple strategies. And level 4, I know how to add and subtract larger numbers. Here's our essential question for this lesson. How can you use the break apart strategy to add 3-digit numbers? So in your own words at the end of this lesson, I want you to tell me how you can use this break apart strategy to add 3-digit numbers. Here's the unlock the problem on page 25 of your textbook. The word problem says there are more zoos in Germany than in any other country. At one time, there were 355 zoos in the United States and 414 zoos in Germany. How many zoos were there in the United States and Germany altogether? You can use the break apart strategy to find sums. You might also hear this called the expanded form strategy, but for our purposes today, we're going to call it the break apart strategy. So I'm going to be adding 355 plus 414. Step 1 is to estimate. If I round 355 and 414 to the nearest hundred, they are both 400. So that's why they have me estimating 400 plus 400. When I add those two numbers together, I have 800. So my estimate is going to be 800. Step 2 says break apart the add-ins. Start with the hundreds, then add each place value. So I'm going to break apart each of my add-ins, like 355, into place value. So I have 300 plus 50 plus 5. When I break apart 414, I have 400. Then I have 10 because there's a 1 in the tens place, and 4 because there's a 4 in the ones place. Now I can add these place values. So when I add 300 plus 400, that equals 700. 50 plus 10 is 60. And 5 plus 4 is 9. So my last step would be to add these sums. 700 plus 60 plus 9. And that would equal 769. So there were 769 zoos in the United States and Germany altogether. Here's example 2 at the bottom of page 25. This time I'm adding 467 plus 208. My first step is to estimate. Remember, when I estimate, I round first and then add. So I'm going to round 467 to the nearest hundred, and that equals 500. Then I'm going to round 208 to the nearest hundred, and that would be 200. So when I add 500 plus 200, that equals 700. Next, I'm going to break apart the add-ins, and basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to rewrite these numbers in expanded form. So 467 equals 400 plus 60 plus 7. I have a 6 in the tens place here, so that's why I have 60 here, and 7 in the ones place, so 7 there. Next, I'm going to rewrite 208 in expanded form. In the hundreds place, I have a 2, so that tells me that's 200. I have a 0 in the tens place, so that tells me I have 0 there, and 8 in the ones place, that's 8. Now I can add 7 plus 8, that equals 15. 60 plus 0 equals 60. And 200 plus 400 is 600. Now I need to add 600 plus 60 plus 15. Well, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I don't have a ones value in the ones place. I have 15. I'm going to have to regroup 15 as 10 plus 5, and I'm going to add that 10 to this 60. So now I really have 600 plus 70 plus 5 because I regrouped this 15 as 10 and 5. So now when I add that all up together, I get 675. Alright, this is the back of what we just did on page 26. If you take a look, there's one more example problem. They want me to use the break apart strategy to find 343 plus 259. My first step is to estimate. Remember, when I estimate, I round. So 343 rounded to the nearest hundred would be 300. And 259 rounded to the nearest hundred would be 300. So when I add 300 plus 300, that equals 600. So I know that my exact answer should be somewhat close to 600. Now I'm going to go ahead and break apart my add-ins into expanded form. So for 343, I have 300 because there's a 3 in the hundreds place. I have 40 because there is a 4 in the tens place. And 3 because there's 3 in the ones place. For 259, I have 200 because there's a 2 in the hundreds place, 50 because there's a 5 in the tens place, and 9 because there's a 9 in the ones place. Now I can add these two lines together. 3 plus 9 equals 12. I'm going to have to regroup this because I can't leave 12 in my ones place, but we'll get to that in a minute. Then I have 40 plus 50, that equals 90. So we write 90 in this blue box in the middle. And then I have 300 plus 200, and that equals 500. Now I'm supposed to add 500 plus 90 plus 12. But remember, I have to regroup this 12. So I'm going to regroup that as 10 plus 2. And I'm going to write over here to the side, and you should do this too, 500 plus 90 plus 10 underneath that. And then we're going to have this 10, or this 12 rather, but I'm going to cross that out and write 2 here. So now when I add, I have 2 plus 100 plus 500. When I add that, 500 plus 100 is 600. 600 plus 2 is 602. So my final answer is 602. Now for this question right here, you don't have to write anything, but I want to just briefly discuss this. Why is there a 0 in the tens place in the sum? Well, that's because when I added these partial sums together, I had 0 tens. I regrouped this 100 as 100, and I was left with 0 tens. So that is why I have a 0 in the tens place. How can I tell if my answer is reasonable? Well, let's go back and look at my estimate before I started doing the math. I had 600 as my estimate. Remember, an estimate is a number that's close to the exact amount. I don't know about you, but I would say that 600 is very close to my exact answer of 602. So I know that 602 was a reasonable answer. At this time, if you have any questions about this lesson, please write them on your paper or leave a comment on my blog. It's time for us to write our secret code word. Today it is going to be zoo. So you can just write it in the space right here. I look forward to finishing this lesson with you in class. And remember, if you have questions, write them on your paper or leave me a comment on my blog. I'll see you guys later.